Provincial Conservative leader for Ontario, Tim Hudak, is here. Good morning.
Hey, Liza, Dave, Rosie, Chris, good to see you guys again.
Good. Nice to have you back. I know, very impressive. So yesterday you announced that essentially you think that the province should get out of the booze business, get out of the gambling business. So
trying to keep things interesting here in the province.
Right,
well,
exactly.
Tomorrow, Liza, I'm releasing what I call a white paper. It's going to be called a New Deal for the Public Sector. This is a bit of a preview for what's in there. But here's the bottom line. We're heading towards a $30 billion deficit. We have people in Ontario waiting far too long for an MRI. We don't have important drugs that could fight cancer they do in other provinces. So we need to start making some pretty tough choices. And part of that is saying, what should government be focusing on, and what can we let business run that we could be a tough regulator instead? So I said both when it comes to gambling and alcohol retail, we could probably regulate that, and the government then could focus on what's truly important, like health and education.
The province makes a ton of money from that stuff, so if you're saying we need money...
Oh, you still collect the taxes. I mean...
Well, why do we have to do that? Listen, if you're going to keep the tax structure the same, what's the point? Just availability?
Yeah, listen, well, here's what's going on in the province today. The LCBO, under the current government, is planning to spend about $100 million on building some pretty nice new stores. Now listen, they're beautiful stores. They got great lighting, expensive shelving. They're kind of the Holt Renfrew of retail. But I'll ask you, Dave, is that the best use of taxpayer dollars when we have kids who have special needs that can't get attention in our schools, when we have people who are waiting far too long for surgery, or should that money go into those priority services and let the private sector build those stores? And the government, at the end of the day, you still receive the tax money. You get licensing fees. I bet revenue actually goes up at the end of the day.
And Tim, do you really think that that's a distraction for the government? Is it fair to swap one for the other, that if we're working on LCBO stores that we somehow can't focus on healthcare and education?
Yeah,
is that fair?
Yeah, because the money can only go to one place. I mean, you can choose whether you want to put it into fancy lighting and shelves. And there are gorgeous LCBO stores, particularly here in Toronto, and they're great to shop in. But I think we have to start asking ourselves, when we're heading towards a $30 billion deficit, if that's really a priority for our health care dollars. We need to balance the books, and we need to focus on what I think are the true top priorities, health and education. So that's why I think we need to move forward in this direction.
And Tim, you're also looking at privatizing gaming as well. Why is that?
Well, I don't think the government needs to be in a day-to-day gambling business. And it's a similar feeling here. Like, do we actually want to pay government bureaucrats with your tax dollars to design scratch-and-win tickets and decide if it's better to have a Keno ticket or a Sudoku ticket? Do we need to have people on the government payroll serving drinks or dealing blackjack hands, or should we be looking at doctors and nurses instead? Pretty well everywhere around the world, it's run by businesses, and the government is a tough and respected regulator to make sure it's an honest game, that you keep shady operators out. I just think that at the end of the day, government can then focus on what's truly important to the average taxpayer.
So what's interesting you right now is balancing the budget. But what about what's going on with Bill 115, the teachers? I mean, you got elementary school teachers. Well, they're not work to rule right now, but they've got their situation, as well as high school teachers. I mean, what are you thinking about that? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm really concerned that it's the parents and the kids who are being caught in the squeeze here between a warring teachers union and the Liberal government. I think we had a much better approach as PCs, and that was an across-the-board wage freeze that would include everybody on the public sector payroll. So that's us as MPPs, the teachers, firefighters. And I think human nature being human nature, if we're all in it together, we're all paying the same cost, which is just a wage freeze, by the way. It's not a cut and pay. It would be a much better way forward. Where do we go from here? I think two things. First, I think that the teacher union leaders need to back off. I think it is wrong for them to put pressure on the individual teachers. Like, if there's a teacher who wants to stay after school because she wants to help a special needs kid learn to read, she could get fined $500 by her union. I think that's wrong. And secondly, the government has powers under Bill 115 to say even if you're threatening a strike, you could be fined. I think the government needs to end the paralysis and stand up for kids in the classroom and say these things are just not on.
Tim, is it fair to say that you're in full campaign mode?
There's the old expression, right? The next campaign starts the day after the last one. We don't know. I mean, the sad reality in Ontario is the Premier basically walked off the job and closed down the legislature. And the real problem with that is we have some serious issues in the province. We're losing jobs. We're hemorrhaging red ink. We're piling up the debt. And the longer it takes for us to get back into the House, the tougher those problems are going to be to take on, and they're hard enough as it is now. I don't know when the election's going to be, but here's what I'm doing. I'm putting out our PC plan. I mentioned at the beginning the New Deal for the public sector. I put out our jobs plan, one for healthcare, one for energy. Your viewers can see it at OntarioPC.com. So people at least know what the PC vision is for a stronger Ontario that's going to be #1 in jobs again.
Are you kind of heeding the criticism that you got after the last election where maybe your platform wasn't clear enough? Is this fixing that problem?
Well, you know, I'm putting out there what we believe is the path forward. And well, I think that's, you know, a fair comment. I think I did a good job last time saying it was wrong with the other guy. I'm laying out our plan, a plan that's focused on firing up our economy, balancing the books. And yes, you might not agree with all aspects, like we talked about earlier, but at least you know where we stand. You respect our position. It's clear. It's a clear vision forward.
Ontario PC leader Tim Hudak, thank you for coming by.
My pleasure. Have a great day now.
Good talking to you.